Merry meet everyone. Sorry, just my camera. This morning I wanted to do a video response to a tag video that I saw last night on YouTube. Don't want you guys to be too dark. Don't want to be too dark, so the tag is called the First Time Tag, and the YouTuber that created it is the Fabled Phoenix. He did a great job at creating these questions, and Mirth and Reverence, Annie from Mirth and Reverence, has done a video response to it. I think she did an amazing job as well. I will link both of those videos down below in the description box, as well as go away. Got a bug. As well as type out or put the questions down below as well. There are 13 questions to this tag. I have them written down in my little journal. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so the first question is, how did you encounter paganism, witchcraft, or magic for the first time? Let's see. How I encountered magic, paganism, and witchcraft. Okay, this is going to be kind of a funny story, but it's okay. In high school, I didn't really know anything about paganism or witchcraft until, well, I should say that I always believed in magic, but in high school, I think my sophomore year started. It was sophomore year. I found this book at Walmart, at our newly opened Walmart back home, and it was called Wizardology. I still have the book today. It's a great little book. I think it's meant for kids, but it just grabbed my attention. And I carried it with me. I had it with me like every day. And then one day, so like halfway through that semester, sophomore year, I was in my art class, and the girl sitting beside me said, if you like this book so much, why don't you look up Wicca? And I was like, what is that? She was like, just look it up. And she wrote it down like W-I-C-C-A, because at the time she just wrote it down for me. And I went to go research it, and I found it intriguing, and I continued researching from then on. But I don't think I didn't hardcore start studying witchcraft or paganism until my junior and senior year in high school is when I actually went hardcore and started studying and everything. So, the next question, what was your first book? And I actually have that here to show you guys. I love this book. It's Celtic Myth and Magic by Eden McCoy was my first book. It's not really a beginner's guide. I know that now. And I didn't really try anything out of it, as in spell-wise. I just researched the Celtic pantheon, and I learned about things, and sorry, something caught my attention. I learned about things of the Celtic pantheon and what magic, and understand a little bit about how they practice magic and the stories and things behind that. I think I love the book. I still reference it today. I actually found it at Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, and I tricked my mom into buying it for me because I think I was 16 or 17 when I got this book. And after I got it, I thought it was just a mythology book. But no, after I got it, I realized that it's a witchcraft book, and I took it with that. I replaced Wizardology with that, and took that with me every day, and I highlighted things, and I wrote down things inside, and it was a great, one of my great, I guess I still consider it one of my great books that I love. So yeah, my first book wasn't really a Wicca for beginners. I got that later, and I kind of knew all the basic principles when I read the book, but it was nice to refresh, you know. The next question is, what was the first spell you ever performed? That's a toughie. I'm having a hard time thinking if it was out of here or if it was out of What a Silver Raven Was books. But I don't know what, I remember the spell, but I don't remember where I got it from. But it was a protection spell. It was a wolf protection spell. And I performed it on, not me in general, but like my family and my home at the time. And I didn't live in a bad area. You know, I lived out in the rural countryside, from where I'm from, and you know, it wasn't really a bad area. There's nothing really bad going on. I just wanted to kind of bring a piece of security and peacefulness, I guess you could say. The spell was a wolf protection spell. So I called on the power of the wolf and said a prayer, did visualization of them walking around the house and like keeping like a sentry guard around the house, and it was really cool. I felt very empowered after doing the spell, and that's when I knew that, you know, this was kind of the right path for me. But beside the point. The next question, number 4, what was your first crystal or stone? I don't really have, I don't know where I placed it. It might have grew legs and left, but my first crystal was gifted to me. It was a quartz cluster. It was a pointed cluster where it could be a generator, but it wasn't like polished cut. It was just cut like it was pointing off to the side and it had little crystals around the edge at the bottom. But it was a quartz cluster. It was clear quartz, like milky quartz, and smoky quartz put together to an extent. It was beautiful. It was about that big. It's a good palm stone. You know, if you like the rough palm stones, it was great. It was my first crystal. It's gifted to me by a friend, and truthfully, I don't know where it's at. Time to go hunting. But the next question is, what was your first god or goddess you encountered on your path? I would have to say, for me, when I was back home, there were very few pagans that I knew of, and the pagans that I did know of was my best friend and her mom, and some of my other friends. You know, they will learn too, but my best friend, and she's like my sister now, and her mom, they've been practicing for a while, and she introduced me to her god and goddess, which she called Nana and Ada. Nana, she's kind of like in the Elvish language. That's where she kind of pulls a lot of her magic from, is the Elvish tongue, and kind of like Lord of the Rings, but she kind of mixes it in with her practice. Nana in Elvish is mother, and Ada in Elvish is father. And her mother and father deity were Gaia and the Green Man. So those were the first two god and goddess that I encountered, that I worked with, and I still feel their presence today. Both of them, because my practice is centered around earth and around the magic of nature. So I still feel their presence today. Number 7 is, how did you meet other pagans? Well, when I first started, I didn't really know a lot of them, but there was, I met another pagan. There was a New Age shop in a flea market called Enlightenments, and I met the owner and his wife, and some people came in and out, and they were pagan. I met some there. I didn't really meet a bunch of different pagans, until I moved to Charleston for college, and I found another New Age shop that was a little bit bigger, and a lot more people were coming in, and where they had classes and things like that. And that's when I first met a bunch of a lot of different like-minded individuals in paganism. Was going to a shop called Canterbury Cloak and Dagger. So yeah, I think that's when I first, or how did I meet other pagans back then? It's kind of going to the store, and going with part of their, and being a part of their classes or workshops, and I met a lot of great people during that. Question number 8 is, what was your first class or workshop you took? I think my first class or workshop was, it was through the Canterbury Cloak and Dagger, with an elder. She had a group, I think there still exists today, I'm not sure, but it was called Mystic Oaks. It's not secret. And they were doing their introductory classes. If you wanted to be a part of the group, you needed to take like the history of Wicca, the foundations, and all that jazz. And I think that was my first workshop or class in the craft, was learning what the elder knew as the history of witchcraft, the goddess tradition, which was more Celtic based, and going through like the lessons of Wicca and witchcraft. I think that was the first class that I took. Number 9 is, what was the first chant you learned? I think the first chant I learned I actually found on YouTube. The elemental chant, which is the earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. The earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. I think that was my, the first chant I ever learned. There's a couple other ones I have that on my playlist on YouTube, and I think I have written down somewhere, but I think that was the first chant that I learned. Number 10, what was the first form of divination you learned? Let's see. Even when I started, I was really interested in tarot, or any kind of card divination. I loved that. But one that was kind of different. I don't know what it's called, but you have a candle, you think of a question in your mind, you light it for like a couple minutes to let the wax melt, and you think of a question while it's lit, and then you pour the wax into water and watch the wax take form and take shape, and then read and get your answer to your question or your situation out of those wax shapes. I think that was the first one that I learned. I think that was, other than tarot, other than the cards, was the first divination that I experimented with, I guess you could say. So yeah, I don't know what it's called. I know it's not pyromancy, because that's watching the candle flame. I don't know. I have it in my Book of Shadows, but I don't remember what it's called. Number 11. What was your first tool? And I actually have that here to show you guys too. My first tool, when I first started, the tools that I used were stuff that you can find in a kitchen, or stuff that, like I used a glass cup, I used a kitchen knife. For my wand, I used, those crystal candy, like rock candy, that stick they come on with a little ball in the end. I used that for my wand. But the first tool I actually bought was at a, it's dirty, but was at the Peach Festival that we have back home. It's usually around July. It's near July 4th. Yeah, and it's where the town next to ours is this big peach festival, peach flavored things and homemade crafts, and there was someone out there with knives and stuff, and I found this guy. Don't know if you could see him, but I was immediately drawn to him. And on here they have a button. This right here's a button. It's a safety lock. If I can open it up. So, and then my blade's dirty. It's starting to rust too. I've had this for almost 8 years. I love it. I don't use it as much today. I don't really use math as much today in my practice, but that was my first tool that I actually bought for myself. So, number 12 is what was your first method or exercise for energy work? Sorry, I'm sitting outside and someone's blowing the horn at the metal lady. Alright, number 12. What was your first method or exercise for energy work? I think my first method... I keep getting distracted. My first method of energy work was by myself. I didn't really practice with people. It was more of a tree grounding, like visualizing your root chakra as the roots, and then your crown chakra as the shooting up to the tree, and then being able to center yourself, and then to raise the energy from the earth, and raise it and raise it and raise it by chanting until you've reached that point where you can just release it and your intention is set for it. I think that was the first, and I still use that today in my practice, but that was the first exercise that I learned with energy, was grounding and centering. So, the last question: what is a memorable or favorite first on your path that wasn't included in the above questions? I think that my most favorite first was when I first played the part as high priest in ritual. There are many times, but one time stands out, I think. It was with a group that I'm a part of here. It's called Low Country Cast, and we were doing a Samhain event, and we were lucky enough that we did it at a Unitarian church downtown Charleston, and it was at their hall, which is Gage Hall, and beside it was their Unitarian or Universalist cemetery, and we were able to go out to the cemetery at night, and since it was Samhain, I was dressed up, and everyone else was dressed up too. The priest was the witch. She had her hat and gray hair wig, and she had her little dress on, or not her little dress on. It was a kind of like a gold black and silver gown-esque. And then I was a cat. I had black shorts, black shirt. I had my ears, my face painted, and my tail, and barefoot, and we were going through, walking in the cemetery, chanting, raising power before we went to circle, and then we were finally in circle. There was a space big enough where we could circle around and have an area in the middle, around a grave in the middle, for us to put candles on and to kind of bless and honor their space. I think that's my first. Yeah, that was my first time as high priest, and that was one of the times I'll remember always. Those are my interpretations of the Fabled Phoenix's 13 first-time questions. I hope you guys enjoyed my video, and if you are watching, consider yourself tagged. I hope to see a lot of people do this tag. I think it's a great tag to be a part of. And like I said earlier, I will link Fabled Phoenixes and Annie's Mirth and Reverence videos in the description box when I upload this video, and I will also post the 13 questions under that. I hope you guys have an awesome day, and many blessings.